Everyone's trying to get that free ride. Absurd the methods they use and the lengths they will go to as they turn on one another to produce the free ride for some in their competition-based system. Whereas we can develop a system where the free ride is accessible to all no matter what their occupation, so long as they achieve certain requirements. Then instead of mobs coming up with every trick under the sun to get the free ride for themselves alone, we can interact directly with a system that guarantees our access to retirement no matter what work we do. This world is being subjected to the throwback practices of the primitive. A system that claims you when you are young and then tells you that you are on your own as an adult. It's a system where the very control structures of government are competing against their own people, setting a forced interaction between all of the people as it forces them to compete against one another. What seems to come naturally to so many of them is very bizarre to me. Competing to survive and producing scarcity in a world of abundance is an absurdity. The need for each individual to set up shop and continually prove their worth in a starving scarcity-based system is an absurdity. This unwillingness to work together and then the formation of various power-seeking mobs is a waste of time. The path to the holy land of the free ride should be available to everyone. The path to the holy land of the free ride should be essentially the same for everyone. With enough work in any field of work, we should have access to retirement after a certain amount of effort. This work should be available without question and without the continual revetting of our profile, so that we do not have to ask to work or to be productive. We should be able to reduce the amount that we work as we get older to the point where we only work occasionally, or only when special tasks arise, or we might get into a very casual and specific field of work, or we may choose not to work at all. In an abundance-based system, there should not be any mobs of scarcity coming around to claim anything you have attained at any level you have achieved, nor can they in a system based upon the principles of universal law. A clearly defined path to the holy land of the free ride for all will reduce crime significantly by making a clear goal for everyone to work on throughout their lives. This should be a cumulative effort that we can continue to work on even when we change jobs. This can be done perhaps with the individual residual income level purchases mentioned previously. So this set of videos is still in the introductory set of videos briefly describing the foundational sets of principles behind the system or the philosophy behind the system. I was hoping to make these videos and then get to a more free-form method of making episodes possibly with the microphone more like a podcast. But that may or may not happen considering current and potentially future circumstances that I'm in. Depending on my situation and support level at that time with this channel, I'll decide then where to go from there. I want to reach that free-form episode creation style so I can go back to various concepts to fill in details that I missed. For example, in a previous episode I mentioned date night, or the concept of utilizing local utility structures for community singles meets. Bars, coffee shops, and unique safe spaces to meet. That's one way the system can help us to not be alone, the loud way possibly. Another way, the quieter way, would be simply by allowing people the ability to control their housing under all circumstances. By being able to control our housing under all circumstances, people will have more control over their relationships, their quality of life, and their experiences as well as their overall safety. Consider oversight tools instead of surveillance. Personal protection apps and devices that let people know you have oversight and protection wherever you go. This can be done in various ways with innovation. For example, a protection bracelet that can glow or has a GPS tracker or other effects. Local responders to alerts wherever you are through a merit-based participatory law enforcement system. Digital guest books that can allow you to sign in to a room or a structure in a virtual map, such as if you went to a party in an unknown location, or if you went to a club and you want personal oversight tools to be able to monitor your location. You can come up with various techniques to use new technologies to help keep people safe. You are already so used to surveillance. So what if apps or programs can be created for individuals so that they can monitor their safety and connect themselves to ever-local networks of protection and support? I can't mention the innumerable effects that housing rights for all under all circumstances would have on our relationships. Depending on one's perspective, these effects can be good or bad for that individual. This type of system would allow us to be with the people we want to be with, and would allow us not be with the people we don't want to be with. It is independence, but not isolation. We can reconnect through our individual stability provided to each individual within the system. Different types of communities can then emerge based upon different interests. Communities can emerge based upon varying themes or aesthetics, or even different practices or types of work. There could be, for example, singles land, a land where generally everyone there is single and looking to mingle. Maybe a singles land with a theme of an enchanted medieval land, where you stumble upon a healing pond full of hot wood nymphos who give you a bath. That's how to heal the soul instead of becoming suicidal. Then when your girl or guy dumps you, there is no need to fret. You can just log into a room in singles land. All job types should still be available local to one's environment with a changing of themes and practices in different communities or general areas or regions. So then instead of a system which allows us to be scammed and farmed when we are vulnerable, such as through dating apps, we can have access to local singles meet places, and we can potentially have access to entire areas where singles can easily move to, with the understanding that most people there are single and looking. Once they find someone, they can move to a place that is generally more monogamous. This doesn't have to be everywhere, in that we don't need to be defining the sexuality of every geographic location. However, some places may come to be known for and can serve to provide easy access to people for various things, such as to find people to be in their lives so that they are never forced to live life alone. These are just rules or guidelines. The only law is universal law, which is to never initiate aggression towards another and physically violate their consent for any reason.
We're talking about the recent trend that's been happening. I'll read you some of the headlines right here. They met on a dating app in Bogota. He woke up dizzy without his passport the next day. Again, here you go from New York Post. U.S. warns against using dating apps in Colombia after suspicious deaths of 8 U.S. citizens in 2 months.
And I saw that they basically stole everything from me. Since they had the access of my Face ID through my phone, they were able to see all my login data of my internet accounts, so my bank account and also my saving accounts. I'm a member of some crypto exchanges. These were my savings, and they stole everything. These harsh living conditions here made them to become criminal, but still I think it's not the right way, even though you're in a bad situation, to harm others just to better your situation. So I'm still disappointed.
They are part of a very organized and intricate crime group. They have hackers behind them to hack the phones, to hack the laptops. They know how to get into the bank accounts. They are very tactical, so they will not just drug you and take your phone and run off, because then they'll get caught on security cameras. They are very, very tactical with what they do. They barely get caught. A lot of the times, I'm not going to say it because I live here, but there are people behind them.
And look, man, the articles just, they don't stop. It says they met on a dating app in Bogota. He woke up dizzy and without his passport the next day. And this is Carlos, an American expat living in Colombia. And what does it have in common? Dating apps. I keep telling you guys, dating apps, man.
Hyperinflation is generally defined as a price increase of 50% or more per month. But in the worst known cases, prices have doubled in days or hours. Hyperinflation happens only when people lose all confidence in the government and institutions. Usually in the aftermath of a political or economic I can't read. Anyways, that sounds oddly familiar. Take a hit.
So I just had a guy tell me that the economy is booming and that the only reason people are struggling is because they're not working hard enough. Yep, so for all of us struggling, we're just not working hard enough. Does this guy realize that today there are people who are making $30,000 to $50,000 more dollars a year than they were making 3 to 5 years ago, but they are struggling more today than 3 to 5 years ago? Has this guy walked through a grocery store? Has he seen the price of chips? Has he seen the price of cereal? Has he seen the prices of anything? Does he realize that we have elderly who, in order to put food on the table, are having to go work at Walmart even though they're 80 years old? Does he realize that people who are in their 30s and 40s, who do have a job, who do have a good career, have moved back in with their parents because they can't afford the price of rent and they can't buy a home right now because the interest rates are so high and the prices of homes are still high? And then you add on property taxes, and then you add on home insurance. People can't afford that. And it's not as simple as go get a better job, go get a second job. It's not that simple. Telling a mom like me to go get a second job when I'm already working a full-time career and I already have a 2-hour commute every day, I don't have time for that. Okay, so what? I go get a second job and now I'm never with my children? How is that worth it? Oh, and now I have to go pay more daycare expenses? How is that worth it? Okay, we have a lot of people in this country, in this world, struggling, and the answer is not to bury your head in the sand and act like nothing's going on. Do not tell me the economy is booming. The economy is not booming when people are struggling the way they are. And when I mean people that have good jobs, who have good degrees, who have 2 incomes coming in their house, and the family is still struggling. That's not a booming economy.
It's getting to the point where it's hard to even cut anything out, because once you cut something out, like my property taxes, everything, insurance for the house, HOA payment, which is the worst, Karen Mafia, I swear to God, that's all gone up this year. $300 a month, extra a month, just like that. Nothing. Car insurance, phone bill.
Rent is going up, and it shouldn't, but you're gonna pay them anyway.
Yeah,
and you
I am gonna pay them anyways. That's the funniest part.
can't even afford to take care of yourself.
I can't.
All of these things are happening, and we're letting it.
You're making us pay for grapes, apples, things that God gave us for free. Ha! Ha! Da, 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 bullshit. You will burn in hell when I'm through with you.
All of these things are happening, and we're letting it.
This guy goes, hello from Argentina. We had 200% inflation last year in 2023, and we'll probably have 20% just this month. And I know I'm bringing up, Argentina here, and I'm living in the United States, but this is kind of what concerns me. I don't like dwell on it at night or like let it keep me up, but I do think about this. Because it's concerning. It's like it's happened a bunch of other places, and it just, the definition we read in the beginning here, I'm just sitting here going, help, you know? But think about that for a second. If 100 grand is like the new 50,000, what happens if hyperinflation really does hit us? You know, right in the tushkins. It is kind of alarming.
You are victims of a competition for survival system and the resulting modality of thinking. They dump their fiat into the system and tell us to go get it while they detach themselves from the outcome, forcing us to compete in places and in ways we could otherwise cooperate. A system of cutthroat, unnecessary competition for the basics of survival continually reinforced upon you by the beneficiaries. A breakaway civilization class of mansion-dwelling free riders. Imagine being able to mess up and print your way out of it. And how do you make it real? By eventually, down the line, but not immediately and so forever deferring accountability, but eventually resorting to physical violence and force to give free value fiat currency value. That's a sin. That makes yours a sin-based system. And make no mistake, this is all just so a few people can feel big about themselves. They are holding us away from our own genius and our own ability, and they are holding us away from God's gifts in eternal abundance and prosperity. The solution then is recognition of the situation and the concepts that can solve for these issues. Power structures, that free ride, so mysterious, blah 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 in broad daylight like, we can see you, so shut the fuck up. Valuation schemes, utter bullshit, and I am oh so tired of it. Do you want a sturdy working class, or do you just want to continually stroke your immature example of the use of power? Anyway, eventually humanity will have to deal with their own idol worship and their allowance for free riders to produce nothing while claiming high-level positions with high pay. Your system is producing positions of high-value inefficiency that are then guarded by mobs that become vicious breakaway civilizations. We are in a system that allows for this type of outcome or behavior. Whereas I feel that this type of interaction and behavior is the leftover result of adhering to unaddressed throwback philosophies of the past, such as competing to survive, such as having this many people butt heads and compete to survive. We all just want a high standard of living. It is not complicated, and it should not be hard for this many people to collectively produce. The problem is that we are being left in the wake, the aftermath of the production of value, while no one at the top of that power structure or structure of benefit cares to think enough to solve the value distribution chain, in so much as to produce a high standard of living for all under all circumstances. They don't care to. It requires effort when they already have for themselves. So why would they take the time to understand or produce anything of benefit for the common good? Humanity can take the next great step forward and simply address these things. Define universal law. Define universal rights to access in an open source, easy access system of intentional convenience for the people. Recognize what we are doing and how, and make things accessible for all in a fair system that operates the same for everyone under all circumstances. This system fuses it all together and doesn't allow power-brokering breakaway civilizations to form. Government, religion, and all citizenry are on an equal playing field, and no group has any rights over universal law. This code seeks to find an end to the game by applying universal law to all instances, groups, systems, and so on to find equilibrium. Government is fused in with the people through orchestrations of topical voting sequences. Corporations are extensions of the will of the people conducted through the collaborative think tank of the people's ideas in all participatory idea-sharing topical voting sequences that takes the place of and is conducted by what was once the government. Corporations are an extension of the will of the people through the orchestration of official idea-sharing and topical voting events, with the mutual benefit of all in mind and in recognition of universal law. As I've said before, I think it is bozo and abstract that you all continually force one another to come up with fiat currency value, while denying access to the means of producing value through the exclusion of others, through the continual re-vetting of one's profile to ride up on that sinful high and mighty horse of predation against your own future generations and your own people, to get that exclusionary value in sin. In a world of abundance, you produce scarcity and then force others to run around coming up with fiat currency in place of the production of actual tangible value. You force everyone to open up shop. You force everyone to live under the gun. You force the pace of the world into a spastic state of desperation. I don't know how to fully shine an X-ray on this intergenerational systemic disease that is costing us so much. One way I have identified and describe it is as the Great Depression valuation shuffle. Get down. I said, get down. Get beneath me in socioeconomic status. Don't make us form a mob of violence-backed free riders with no moral code on our way to hell for that free stuff. Get down. The Great Depression valuation shuffle is something that the failures in control of this world are perpetually responsible for setting the tone of this world from being that of abundance, certainty, and calm, to that of scarcity, doubt, and chaos, by forcing us to compete instead of cooperate, and they benefit all the while others suffer. It is odd to be in such a time, to have such contrarian beliefs, to see in such a way, all the while. Whereas there should not exist a separate special non-contributing class with its hand out in expectancy or else violence. This narrative and this forced relationship should not exist. We should never be forced to go along with the narrative that suggests their fake value supersedes actual value which we produce when left to do so. For more on the eventual calamitous effects of fiat currency going out of control and the potential repercussions we may face, here is Peter Schiff to tell us more about collapsing empires and their fake fiat currency.
Announcement I really wanted to make. I had some stuff I wanted to talk about.
Well said. Informative as always. Peter, keep up the good work. They perform the magic trick of intervening and halting our ability to be productive, and then they call us useless. When it is that we should not have to show value to this thing at all. It should recognize our inherent value and our ability to produce more value. And it should recognize that we will produce more value in the future. The conditions may not always be present for us to show what we can achieve, but our inherent value should still be recognized, including recognition of our intrinsic value from the system that moderates our civilization. We cannot count the numbers of unnecessary byproducts to living in a competition for fiat system. Nor can we measure down to the fine detail all of those things which would no longer be present or need to exist in a system that is properly supporting all of the people. From prostitution to crime, from homelessness to abuse. All symptoms are stemming from these core survival practices of competition that force each of us to open up shop and prove our worth individually to the system constantly. While holding the ability to easily access work away from us and producing scarcity in the environment, present systems routinely threaten us with each aspect of survival while creating an environment that produces crime as a result of not being able to access work without hassle and an environment of constant competition with each other over fiat currency. The orchestrators of the narrative of control presently in this world have been around for a while, handing down the same general philosophy for the use of power which would produce a world that maintains the existence of things such as the Great Depression valuation shuffle. We are all doing the Great Depression valuation shuffle to one degree or another. Instead of being able to claim the benefit of the collective production capabilities of the land per se, and to not be forced on as our birthright for existing in this place as part of God's creation, we are forced to prove our value continuously as an individual. There are some, like corporation owners, and full-on high-level free riders within their system that do not have to continually produce something of value for others in order to be, while the vast majority of the rest are forced to show continual value to the starving scarcity-based system or face elimination. It all just reminds me of a black and white documentary of the Great Depression I saw. Like, are you serious? You all just kept practicing the same system that produced the Great Depression? Ha 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 ha. Hysterical. You are. Hysterical. Just keep taking them commands, you lapdog. Right into hell, that's where they'll lead you. And they'll make you suffer every step of the way. And it seems like a huge portion of humanity are up for that deal. Not me. It all just reminds me of a black and white documentary of the Great Depression I saw, where they panned across many people standing in a line shivering from the cold. As they panned across them, I was surprised to see each individual person would show something unique about themselves. Just silly talents one might have picked up along the way. Empty-handed and with nothing else to show for themselves, they tried to show that they have value in some way. I think that is just the saddest thing. And I think that that systemic force that exists, which is failing us all as nothing is expected of it, as its accomplishments or lack thereof go unmeasured, as it demands and expects and harasses and interjects. That force which has failed, and is up in everyone's face with its hand out in full expectancy, needs to be systemically dealt with in such a way that it never so much as feels that it has the right to claim access to any of us or our efforts or ourselves as individuals on any level.
Wake up! The revolution has begun!
It does not have the right to push us. It does not have the right to demand of us. It does not have the right to mismeasure our value. That forced relationship and that forced interaction are over. They have no right to measure us for value when they themselves have failed to produce the value that they could have achieved within their power brokerage. They need to be held criminally accountable for failing to produce abundance long before they feel they have the right to judge any of us within the paradigm of the scarcity they have produced. I envision a world in which the base interaction between all people has changed, where it is no longer expected for us to peddle our wares, nor are we to be seen as external units apart from the system. What an impossible level of immaturity we are witnessing here, and the snob-nosed mentality that perpetuates it. Instead of being blamed on individual levels, instead of being excluded and isolated from the benefits of our collective production while being forced to continually beg your way back in, we require a system of maturity that provides open access to all resources to all under all circumstances. Over time, our interactions with one another can change and move away from base-level valuation of individuals that require each and every single individual to open up shop, And we can move into systems of abundance that no longer require us to base our judgments of one another on our production capabilities alone, but rather allow us to be a part of the production capabilities of our community or of the world. We require a new non-competition-based system of collaboration that allows everyone to participate while requiring nothing from anyone.